Are you a mover looking to make an impact? Discover Moving Letters AI and join the ML Plus Club today to get 100 free letters for your campaign. Elevate your customer engagement with the personal touch of handwritten letters.
If you want to take your company to that next level, it's the only way to subscribe. If you're doing anything but Moving Letters AI, you need to get on it. So it's going to take your business to that next level. You're going to see an increase in that revenue. Let's go.
Don't miss out. Join the revolution and start making moves that matter.
What do you guys do? A lot of what's today. I feel like you were talking earlier about.
If you stump me, I'll send you a $20 check if you can stump me today.
All right.
Cool.
US, that's like $50 Canadian. So that's great. Perfect. Love it.
Trudeau's going to tax you though, and you're going to be back down to 20. So let's.
I know. What do you guys do in the communities? Because you were talking about how, like, you inner city kid in Chicago, you know, you are a $25 million company. What does Brian as a staple, as someone that, you know, says, hey team, like, we want to do this for the community? Are you heavily involved in that? Do you do a lot of philanthropy as a company?
I would say yes. I would say that I check both boxes, both as a company. The things that we do at New City, I think the things that I do in my personal life are more financially driven and less time driven because I don't necessarily have all the time in the world. And the things that we do in the business are more labors of love and personnel. So whether that be like a soup kitchen or taking dogs at a shelter for a walk, whether that be every year we have everybody go to Toys R Us or places like Walmart or Target, and everybody gets to load up a cart of things that they wish that they would have had if they were in the position of the kids, very same kids that will be receiving those things. So we work with the 17th District Police Station, and we have this drive every year where everybody loads up a cart, and then the whole rest of the community has like their sort of lump of things that they've donated, and we just flood the entire police station with those toys.
Wow.
I think it comes from a place of me potentially wanting those toys as a kid myself. So everything that we do on the New City side is primarily, I know this sounds cheesy, but it's like mostly human related with a tinge of dogs, because we have like a very dog friendly atmosphere. So it might be like 10,000 hot dogs and a bunch of blankets, right? 1 month,
right.
or it could be something like that. In my personal life, I found out I have a 5-year-old daughter named Charlotte and a 3-year-old son named Henry. And I found out when my daughter was 2.5 years old, that she was diagnosed with autism. And by the grace of God, she's starting now at 5 years old to become verbal and things of this nature. And her life was impacted heavily by early intervention and getting in front of her and giving her the right tools at a young age. And then with the hippotherapy, I know it sounds like hippo therapy. She's not riding a hippo. It's actually horse therapy. And me and my wife are very active with a place called Partners for Progress. They have about 150 different volunteers that volunteer copious amounts of time to help kids ride horses. This place has like a $2 million and a half a year upkeep. And and really it's like a pay what you can facility where neurodivergent, what I call neurospicy kids, can ride a horse. I've probably seen 50 kids ride horses there for the first time. If I would have taken my daughter and introduced her to you, now I think you're a relatively good looking guy, I think. She would say, like, I might be scared to engage with this human being. Right. But the first time that I put her on a horse, you should have seen what that looked like. And that has had an astounding sort of impact on my life. And we do have little hits of things that we do once a month, or like acts of service, so that my kids can see me physically go and give my time to somebody that I don't have to, but I do because it's the right thing. So me and my wife do a lot of that stuff, and we will be setting up a foundation eventually here. But you know, the paperwork that comes with 501c3, and then we're a ways away from that. Let's put it that way. But this Partners for Progress thing in general is like, I think I'm not overly religious, but I am a believer in a higher power. And I think that's like the closest thing to God that I've seen on earth, is like people willing to donate their time to come and walk around in a circle with a horse in the dirt for the benefit that these children are getting from that process. It's like, right. Man, that's got to be at the cornerstone of life. That to me is beautiful. When you can give opportunities to kids without food, shelter, or entertainment, and then when you can do this sort of equestrian sort of special needs horse thing, I think it's beautiful. Like there's no before that. It's just like, hey, I'm just a dude. I own a business, right? Like there's clubs for us, but it's not like now I have a cause. If that makes any sense. Like I have a community that I'm part of where like I'm friends with people in that community, not because of things that we know about each other, but solely because we share those experiences. And now I have a cause. So like you think about life after moving and like, could I have an impact in the autism space, maybe with a center or something like that, in the same way that I've had an impact with moving in Chicago.
Right.
I'd probably drive them all nuts because I certainly don't run it like a state-run program. But it'd be interesting.
At least you know where most of the funding is going. Make sure it's being all tight-knit.
We're going to drain the swamp, baby.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, man, we just got like super deep and super I'm going to loosen this up a little bit here.
Sure.
Give me 2 stories. Because I have like a dozen of like some of the wild, crazy stories of, dealing as a business owner, dealing with movers, especially dealing with guys that really don't know, what they're planning on doing tomorrow, let alone what they're supposed to be doing on a truck. You're growing your business. Things are happening. You must have some wild stories or some funny, like moving situations of, an experience, but also like that was a golden nugget where you're like, this is not going to happen again. Let's change this, how we're doing things.
Yeah, I have a story that I heard. I'm going to start with a story that I heard from another moving company because I think it's the most freakishly abnormal shit that I've ever heard in my life.
Okay.
There was this young lady. This young lady had actually told me about this experience because she wanted to speak with the owner personally after hiring another mover out in Seattle. She wanted to sort of speak with me to ensure that the people that were going to be in her home were going to be respectful of her and she was going to feel safe. And I just asked her like, hey, are you going through a divorce or something? Like, is there something we can help you with to make you feel more comfortable here? And she's like, well, I had a bad experience out in Seattle. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to ask the company's name because it's really none of my business. But would you tell me about the experience? And she's like, sure. So there's this road driver for this company. And he's supposed to get day labor help, but he ends up lumping everything himself because the day laborers don't show up. He finishes the move. This woman feels awful for him because he finished around midnight or 1 a.m. because he was actually doing the move all by himself. So she feels bad for him. And she takes him out to some diner or some little Denny's or some shit that was open. And they have lunch or dinner. And then she says, it's been great. I'm glad that I was able to give you dinner. Here's a tip for your hard work that you did today. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. And she's like, I'm going to go take care of some stuff and get some rest. And, I'm going to start unpacking tomorrow or something. And then he says, wait a second, lady. You just bought me dinner. You bought me a beer. This is where this ends? And then she said, excuse me? And then he's like, well, I need a place to stay. You certainly don't want me to sleep in the truck. It's 1 a.m. And she's like, humbly, like I wouldn't feel comfortable having somebody sleep in the house. I don't really know the area. I'm new here. Right. So then she takes off towards home. He takes off. I guess that she stops on the way somewhere or something happens where this diner is not very far away. And she sees the truck sort of parked by her home. And she thinks like, well, this guy must just be sleeping in the sleeper, whatever she thought. So this guy had actually climbed up some sort of balcony, let himself in the window, I don't know why this man chose to do this, but he was actually wearing her robe when she got home, and she didn't know that he was in there, and he's just like, "Honey, you're home." And he had went into the refrigerator, cracked a beer, was actually wearing her robe, and she had to run outside and call the police. And this man probably spent the next 72 hours thinking about what he had done.
Jeez.
But this is the high price of low cost service, I think, right? Like this is you don't want the guy wearing your like monogrammed robe.
So he's not winning mover of the month.
No, I don't think. No. You know what? Well, there are moving companies that might reward. Like if he put $2,000 worth of materials on that job and didn't have to pay for third-party labor, there might be companies that reward that behavior. Sure. But we certainly don't. We certainly do not want our guys wearing monogram robes, cracking beer, saying "Honey, you're home," when you've effectively just broken into their house.
For sure. That's not a 5-star Google review.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I want to talk about sexy stories. I want to talk about a gentleman with probably about 250 different items that we moved to Brooklyn, New York, probably like 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay.
And we received a 1-star Yelp review, and I called them up and I said, it was pretty vague review. We had moved about 250 articles. Let's call it 60 of those were cartons or something. 50 of those were cartons. And the gentleman was like, "I just want to tell you that I had a horrific experience with your company." I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm the owner. Like, let's work this out. Like, I want you at the end of this call to feel like I'm your family. Or like, I want to find commonality with you. Like, I don't want you to be upset with us. I want to try to fix this. It makes me feel genuinely bad when people have bad experiences. So I want to try to fix this." And this guy said, "You would not believe, but I just sat down to watch TV at my coffee table, and I saw that some of the glass on the coffee table had one of the mover's fingerprints."
Okay.
And I thought to myself, like, did you run this fingerprint and like, he's a serial killer or something? And then he's like, "No, like there was a fingerprint on my coffee table." And I thought like, wow, have we really reached this level of entitlement? You don't say this stuff, but you're like, "My goodness, sir, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm definitely going to speak with the crew. I'll definitely like send me the cleaning bill for somebody to come in your home for 10 minutes and use a Windex wipe and take care of that smudge for you." So I just thought that was like, I think that's the way that the industry has been progressively heading over the last 15 years. Because I don't know if I got many of those calls before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we get so many calls where someone is like, "Well, they blocked part of the driveway." I said, "Okay, well, are the movers there? Like, is there a situation? Do you need to get out?" "Oh no, I don't need to leave. They're blocking someone's driveway." I said, "Would you see them moving something else?" "Oh, I think they're just moving a piano out." I said, "Let me call the crew. Let me see what's going on." But everybody wants to find something to complain about, and moving companies really are. You might as well just like label the phone number, say, "Give us a call, just complain." Like,
absolutely. Here's our complaint. You can't necessarily say like, "Hey, listen, we clearly told this client 4 times they need to order parking permits. They did not do such." So that's like, right. Do I take the 1-star review from you bitching about the truck being in the alley? Or do I take the 1-star review that the client didn't do what they should and order the parking permits and I just ghosted them?
Right.
Right? Like it's like
I've run into so many customers where I say to them, I mean, back in the day when I've been on the truck and someone's complaining, "Well, you guys are taking up the elevator and this is what's going on." And I said, "Well, did you move into the building at one point?" "Yes." I said, "Do you not understand also the frustration of like moving and the elevators and the coordination and the building manager that didn't allow us to like have the amount of time that we needed or
just a little bit of thought that goes into this?"
Just a little bit. And then they stop and they have this stump of going, "Oh, right. Oh, yeah, no problem. Like, carry on." It's like, come on. Like, I used to love when customers are like, "My move took so long." And I said, "Have you ever done the walk in this apartment building for what the movers have to do?" "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, you go into the front of the building, you go up the elevator and into your apartment. And most of the times you don't think about the 2 doors that you've had to pass through to get to your corner suite that has a horrible angle and a lower ceiling roof." And I said, now these movers are juggling to move everything reverse to come out of your unit. They have to go through 2 doors. So they have to make sure these are all propped up. They have to go down an elevator, down to the parking garage, through the loading ramp.
And they're doing that 54 times.
54 times.
Yeah.
And heaven forbid if they're getting a sweat on because it's, 90 degrees out or 100 degrees outside or something. And I'm trying to use American terms here. For us, would be like 40 degrees out.
We use labor, Labor.
Right,
I don't want to talk about labor or however you guys spell it over there.
Tomato, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, but I also then firmly believe on when you have moving consultants that are going into someone's house or someone that's speaking to that customer on the phone to have those conversations, to have the resources on your website that actually explain this because ignorance is bliss. I mean, it's trying to make sure that I always firmly believe educate a customer and they have nothing to say back to you. If I'm a mover and I'm in someone's house and I'm pad wrapping and I'm everything else, and I'm specifically in an apartment building, and whether it's 2 guys or 3 guys in there, and I can see a bit of frustration in the homeowner, I'm also at the beginning of the job explaining to them, hey, listen, just so you know, you're going to see me a lot. You're not going to see the other 2 guys, but you're going to see me a lot because I'm going to be in your apartment. But the other 2, one person's bringing everything down the elevator, another person's loading in the truck.
One of the biggest complaints that we get is that one of your guys didn't leave the truck the entire time. And it's like, if we say it politely, but we're like, due to rising crime and civil disrest in our lovely city, like I can almost assure you that for 1 out of every 50 moves, if there wasn't somebody on the truck, that the truck would be stolen or most of your goods would be. Like it's just it's a byproduct of making sure that your items are safe. Like just like we're wrapping them inside of the home, making sure that they don't disappear is equally as safe for us. We consider that to be equal levels of safety. And for the most part, like, man, I know I'm talking about the outliers, like that 1% of clients that are just atrocious, but like 99% of the people that we've met, like through this journey, like I'd say that like 2 out of every 3 times I maybe go to the grocery store or go to a concert and I'm just like rocking the New City red, white, and blue. People are like, oh, fuck yeah, New City. And I'm like,
nice.
Like, did we move here or something? Like, yeah, man, your crew's fucking awesome. Like, do you work there? I'm like, oh, I'm the owner. They're like, yeah, right on, dude. And maybe I'm making them all sound like college frat guys, but and maybe a large portion of them are, but that's solace. And I don't know, a lot of this is going to sound cheesy when people listen to this, but like that, pride of accomplishment, that delayed gratification. Fuck, man, it's sweet. Like I love it.
100%.
I love that delayed gratification, like 10 years of eating crow, so that every time that I go out in a public setting now to a concert or a street fair or a McDonald's, people are like, hey, man, right on. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's one of Chicago's brands. And
that's cool. That is really cool. And congratulations on your growth. I mean, I think it's absolutely amazing. How often are you in the office?
I am in the office Monday through. I took a new role, so I gave my chief of staff sort of the day-to-day sort of stuff. And this year, I'm focusing on marketing, sales, growth initiatives, IT infrastructure, whether that be software or hardware. Like that's kind of my day-to-day role. But I'm in the office Monday through Friday, probably 9 to 5 now. Drop my kids off on the way there. See my kids for about an hour and a half before they go to bed. The work-life balance has been hard for me to find, but my sort of mission going into this company was like, hey, I one day want to have a family and I want to be able to support them and not have them to have a hard life. So it's like, if I remain true to that mission statement, I actually like go home for that hour and a half to see my kids. If I get lost in all the glitz and glam and sort of like megalomania of all this stuff, I just continue to focus on the money. And then I wake up and I'm 55 and my kids are 20.
What does that look like though? I mean, you and I like your model of the sense of there is a lot of quarters left in a city. Focus on the city that you're in. With us at Salmon's, we're a 110-year-old company. bought out the company 6 years ago. We
Congrats.
have a very strong reputation within the city. You know, we were the guys that were doing horse and buggy in the early 1900s.
You should just bring a horse back just for shits and giggles.
I know. Someone said that to me the other day too. They're like, how awesome would that be if people can choose?
A hay surcharge?
Do you want the 5-ton or would you like the horse and buggy? Because,
no. Just no fuel surcharge on this one, sir. We're going to do a hay surcharge.
That's right. That's right. And so I also get that sometimes too. I'll be wearing the brand and someone stops me and says, hey, I moved with you guys, or my grandparents moved with you, and it's generational on using our services. But, you know, for me, I also really strongly believe in work-life balance, right? I'm the same person. This morning, it was, drop off my kids for school and, I go to the office. I look forward to seeing them in the evening for the hour or two. And then my weekends I try and want to spend with my kids because to me, they're all young ages. I got a 6, 3, and 1. So I totally have the same, thought process as you as well too. And I mean, I've had 6 kids originally when we were used to fostering and had 3 other kids that we used to foster as well too and bring in the house. So everything that you're saying about your daughter and everything else, I've been in it. I've been in the root of it. I feel like we have a lot more similarities. We could have a whole other podcast.
And amazing glasses.
And amazing. Well, yeah, for sure. It totally works. And so, for me, but I also kind of go to going, I love having the one location. I think they're also, especially in Vancouver and the population that we have here, there's so many quarters left on the table to focus on and grow on here. But when does become enough? Like I look at it going, okay, we're close to, basically being a $10 million company. I want to be a $20 million company of the same size as you going like, we're 25, I want to be a $50 million company. Watch out. Like here we come. But how is it that, and you mentioned you have a chief of staff and everything else. Do you have, where were you at when you said, hey, listen, for me to be in order to have this luxury of spending time with my kids and not being burnt out, not being under a lot of stress, do you see yourself having more people? Like were there certain people that you said, hey, I need to have this in place, these people here, so I do have the time to spend, taking my daughter to go on a horse, and having this extra time?
I think that, okay. So I think that I said this on the Rotate Digital conference a little bit ago, but I think as the company continues to grow, so should the salaries and bonuses of people that are responsible for core elements inside of the business. So I think that you can take some of the weight off yourself by trusting key people to, hey, here's your spiff for how many people come to the warehouse and how much against how many claims we have against how many lost items we have in the warehouse, right? And then the warehouse guy's like, yes, this for me feels like a career and I have ownership over this lane in my company. Or maybe like that general manager that just works on cost savings initiatives and like it is just working packing material vendors quarterly to try to see some relief there on pricing when the cost of pulp is going up or something, right? And then
are you bringing these people in? Like, are you bringing additional people in to say, hey, okay, Brian, like, this is the algorithm and the way you should model this? Or is this something that you've done completely on your own as you're building SOPs? Like I know a lot of businesses that say, okay, I brought in XYZ into my company to help me with, putting my SOPs together, helping me, have all the trainuals and everything that's in place because I am the brains of the operation, but as business owners, we follow under like an EO system or like wealthy habits and finding out where do we play in this role.
We always have
all the hats.
We always have the necessity for the position before the human being actually works for us. So we track sort of employee sentiment to see what their workload is and how comfortable they are with that workload. And then we have metrics by which to determine like time in email, time on CRM, amount of phone calls that we're using through Dialpad, like, how many calls made versus received in claims and stuff. And we know like somewhere between how the employee feels and the data that we have surrounding what they're doing at their job, we always kind of like know when we need that other person that's It's pretty much like algorithmically decided instead of just like left to caution. And then
what did you use though? Like, I keep cutting off because I'm more excited on trying to like understand, because to me, when the answers that you're pumping out,
I don't hurt that easy.
That's fine. Good.
You couldn't ruin my day.
Yeah, perfect. But I mean, for me, it's you are listening to you. It sounds like I'm listening to the CEO of a large moving company that's doing 25 million, as opposed to someone that said, when we were at 6 million, we needed to hire this person to do this. We had to look at this software and say, okay, the only way we can analyze this is if we're using that software. Like, what are you using right now? Because you're saying, well, we had these metrics and we checked this stuff. It all sounds fantastic.
Yep.
But it also sounds like you have like 20 different softwares that are all running. Who's watching this stuff? Like, who did you say you finally had to hire to say, okay, well, someone's got to check out Dialpad and we got to listen to these calls. And, do you have a call center set up in your office? Like, how does that all work in the structure of the organizational setup of your company?
Let's talk about the org chart. Let's talk about role by role and when I added those people. So we have a young lady that does HR. I knew as our company grew and our liabilities for workers' comp or for EEOC complaints or something like that, I knew that when the risk outweighed us not having a human resources person, that it was time for us to get that human resources person in-house. So we always worked with somebody fractionally. But when your liabilities on a 100-person company, a 200-person company, a 50-person company, when those potential lawsuits for injuries or skipping paperwork during the onboarding process, when that starts to become more of a risk than you paying that person $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, then it just makes sense to have that human resources person. When you see that there's gaps in your CRM in which you could be paying out hours that movers did not actually work, benefits that movers were not actually eligible for, PTO is not getting calculated correctly, when you see that those kind of things would cost you more not having a payroll person than having a payroll person, you get the payroll person. If you're interested in a recruiter and you say, well, can I substantiate $50,000 or $60,000 or $70,000 for a recruiter? When you have demand, is this the meat and potatoes you were looking for?
Thank you.
When you have the demand on your schedule, but you are labor restrained by how many people you can get in the door, then you have to look at the lost opportunity of being booked out against the cost to pay that person yearly for a recruiter. When dispatch is, when you reach a limit of 30 or 40 trucks that one person's dispatched, and you can tell that their quality of life and their ability to provide good customer service that's detailed to somebody over the phone, when you see that they're rushing through calls and when you see that client expectation is not being met, you bring on a second dispatcher, and then you're able to have a 3-minute conversation with a customer that's concerned about parking in an alley instead of a 30-second conversation. Let's talk about claims. When you are paying out more in claims because you're personally invested in it as the owner, and you take everything like they're calling your child ugly every time there's a complaint. I didn't want to go home with the fucking stress and frustration of these claims. So guess what I did, right? Like, we are going to find somebody that does claims because they're not personally invested in this, and they're going to be able to distribute fair settlements to our consumers and not ruin a night every time there's a nick in a piano or a scratch in a wall, right? Like, that to me was like, it was a luxury hire to some point, but now I hire this person. Now we're generating $86,000 a month in valuation during the summer, and my fully burdened cost for the claims department is $20,000, even with the cost of the claims. It's like, we look for those opportunities in our business to have people pay for themselves and then have more hours worth of growth or review inside of the business.
All right.
In regards to sales, it's very simple, right? We have a heat map and a Power BI of when our call center is being hit. We know it's heavy on a Monday and light on a Friday. So we
What's the Power BI?
It's like a business intelligence dashboard, which tells like how many calls we're getting per hour, how many per day, average time on phone per agent, what the availability of agents are at any given time, a heat map as to which would go from green to dark green for very little calls to a burning red for busiest times, broken down by hour, by week, by month of the year, so that we can look at that historical data and say, we're going to need 2 sales assistants this summer because we had 40 calls on average go to voicemail last year during this duration of time.
How is that being processed especially for those people listening? They're going like, wow, like even myself, I'm like, all right, I love this. Sounds epic. Is this because you are using Dialpad, like you're having like your sales call center, and then these are add-ons to something that you build?
Yeah. No, it's an add-on to Dialpad.
Okay. But that's something, if someone is using Dialpad, they can have these options on there, or?
Yeah.
Okay. No,
Dialpad is similarly priced like RingCentral as a $15 a month sort of product, but you could pay for a call center product, and then layered on top of that, a la carte is like transcriptions, video chat, business analytics, AI assisted scripting, and stuff like that.
Dialpad, RingCentral.
Dialpad sells phone services to businesses, and there are less businesses than human beings in the United States. RingCentral sells phone systems to businesses and residential, so I might have to wait for Grandma Smith to get off the phone because her modem doesn't work, instead of reaching a call center rep right when I need them to because I have some packet loss on my network.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's just like we pay the little bit of extra for a business-to-business product instead of waiting in the queue. There's sales days that we do like 2.25 a day in sales. Like I don't want to wait for like Mr. Allen to get off the phone complaining about how his headset's not working, and I'm sitting in some queue blowing sales, right?
Right. Yeah, you want to get on top of it right away.
I hope that helped to answer some of those.
It does. I got 2 more for you before we tie off. The other one is, you talked about everything that is mid-level. What about for yourself? Do you have like a VP, vice president of operations? Do you have like a chief of staff?
Oh,
do you
we're
have
certainly thin. Certainly thin.
Yeah? Yeah,
I would say.
So there's you, and then what? How does it go down before?
Myself, and then our CFO, which also runs chief of staff. The nicest older gentleman you ever want to meet, and when people talk to him, like they feel comfortable. Like I might be high energy, and he's like, "Hey, come on, Mark. Like your sales are you're booking at 38%, and historically it's 44. Is there something going on in your life?" So I'm like, "Dude, you're chief of staff, right? Like you can only do financials so much until your head starts to rack. Like, do you like working with humans? Yes, I do. Okay, dude, chief of staff, you're the best. They believe you. Like they look at me for vision, and they look at him for, it's like a yin and a yang, right?
Comfort. Yeah, for sure. Which is always good to have in the office. At what point were you like, okay, shit, I need a CFO?
I would say on the CFO front that running this business for the first 10 years, I had an idea of my numbers, and having your idea of numbers in this business is sort of loose, right? Like I'm sure, Mark, like top line revenue and gross profit percentage and net profit percentage. But if you're looking to figure out dynamic pricing based on availability, or you're looking to figure out 3 different product lines, like we added long distance, and that equates for 20% of the revenue. And then we added storage, and that equates for, $90,000 a month. And then we added and had the local moving, right? Like it started to look like running 3 or 4 different businesses instead of running one. And we knew that we wanted all of these businesses. Like if these businesses, we're very like sort of Darwinian about this, right? Like if these businesses were going to last, they have to last on their own merits. Like we're not going to take money from local and just take a bucket and bail out long distance every time they have losses. So the methodology here is when we have these business lines, I wanted to hire personally the CFO in order to help me segment these business lines so we could be very analytical about the way that they stand alone. And then we could be intentional about new things that we're starting. And they have to live on their own merit. It's not like I have 9 locations and Albuquerque, New Mexico's not doing good, so Chicago's bailing it out. Like, no, man. In the way that I view the world, Albuquerque would have been started with a couple $1,000 and 1 truck out of an empty lot on Craigslist for $250, and it would have had to stand alone. And if not, we would have like taken it out back like Old Yeller and shot it, and did something else.
Right.
All of these things have to stand alone because, like, when you've made decisions that have generated money, it's easy to just say, like, well, we'll just spend our way out of this. And if your moving company if your moving company has 50 trucks, you better have been damn good when it had 25 trucks, or else you're going to understand what kind of cluster you're walking into. So the CFO decision was like, I'm not recommending for 98% of people that are going to listen to this to go out and get a CFO or an HR person or a payroll person. I'm going to say, like, those things are readily available fractionally by some really rock star companies. Right. I'm not going to tell. Yeah, it's just and doing claims, right? Generally, with the volume that some movers are doing, that can be assumed by like an office manager or a dispatcher or something like that. So I'm not suggesting to get these kind of things. But when you see a clear opportunity, like with that payroll person, in eliminating payroll errors, and then that young lady's paying for herself, or limiting your exposure and HR is paying for itself, or understanding the analytics of your business so this way you can continue to grow it and bring in a CFO, like those are the break points where, like, if those people are effectively paying for themselves and then you're getting just a little bit more, then that little bit more is just like in perpetuity. It's all helping you on the bottom line.
Yeah, it's like paid for itself.
Yep. We have a trainer. Brian, why do you have a trainer? Why are you paying people for a trainer? Well, we can ramp up 150 movers by way of recruiting and training in a month. So when that summer season hits, I don't have to like just say, hey, those 30 trucks, we're not going to bring them online this season. Right. So it kind of makes that trainer, like if that trainer saves you on the claims and saves you on workers' comp and saves you on auto accidents, and they're able to put a good quality applicant out on the street that knows what the hell they're doing, that position's worth 10x what I'm paying for it.
Do you find having a trainer, I mean, because you obviously have lots of staff and movers that are coming in and out, is that trainer on full time?
Yes. So it's a lot of preparation training during the winter, and then it's a lot of day by day. So that trainer does like Smith System drivers training, which is training all the drivers in a systematic way in order to alleviate any potential driving hazards. And then if that person, let's say, for instance, Mark works for me and Mark damages a TV on a Monday, right? Like, I'm not going to just let Mark damage that one on a Wednesday and a Friday. I'm sorry, Mark, but like, if you damaged a TV and you didn't know how to crate it, even with corrugated, if you didn't know how to crate it on a Monday and you damage something, why should I think that you went home and just like, you know what, I'm going to research how to do this right. So we're going to get in front of you after that move on a Monday or on a Tuesday before you go out. And we're not looking to eliminate one-off claims because damages do happen in moving. What we're looking to do is make sure that we're not seeing the same damages over and over and over. And if anybody looks at their claims, look at the repetition in them, because like, you have people that are largely not going to get claims, and then you have people that without any intervention are largely just going to get the same claims over and over and over.
Right. The guy breaks the TV. Are you pulling him back and trying to reassess? I mean, are you just making him rewrap TVs over and over again to like teach him and train him to let that not happen?
Yeah.
Are you? But what happens if like that guy's worked for you for like 10 years? He knows what he's supposed to be doing. You know, it's not like a new guy who's like, oh shit, I broke a TV and he's been here for 6 months. It's one of your like longtime drivers. Are you holding the same expectation, the same pullback and going, hey, Brian, okay, you've been with us for like 10 years and like you broke a TV. We got to reassess how you're wrapping TVs. Are you looking at it differently through a different lens, or is it like, hey, this is the same spiel, same setup?
I'm going to give you a similar story. At our company, if you're a no call, no show, or if you're tardy, we're going to freeze you out for 48 to 72 hours. If you go find another job, that's fine. But we're not going to have the inmates running the asylum. I'm sorry. It's not how we run our company. We treat you fair. We treat you ethically. We treat you just like the human being you are. Your pay is above scale in Chicago, but we expect a lot out of you. And I got drunk last night and couldn't show up isn't what we do here. But with that being said, if Mark worked for me for 10 years, let's give that 10-year analogy, and then we knew that it was your wife's birthday and you kind of got carried away at dinner and didn't show up the next day, like, you'll probably, based on your merit and based on the deposits that you've made to the organization and very little withdrawals, you'll probably be on that truck the next day. But you have to earn, like, trust is earned and not given at this company. So just like to say with the TV, right, we would say, what about this particular TV or what about this particular day that you were having led to the damage of this? Is this something that we need to worry about? Or is this just, did we not know that it's a plasma and needed to be laid horizontal, right? Like, whatever, right? Like we more so like for that situation.
You want to learn from it.
Yeah, for that situation, it's like, how could we both have avoided this? Because your goal is the people that work for New City generally have decent work all year round. So the goal is like, how can you live off your tips and bank your check? And the way that we're going to help you, if you have to be at work and you're working for money, the best way to acquire that money is by not breaking people's stuff. So we're going to help you achieve, like, we really speak about it like what's in it for them. What's in it for you is like, I know, Mark, you don't want to listen to this thing and you've worked here for 10 years and I know it was an accident on the TV. But like, if you have to be here and you want to work here, let's talk about that TV, because that TV could have affected a $50 bill in your pocket. And let's just make sure that you're earning the most for your family that you can during the duration of time that you're here. You don't want to lose the tip money, Mark. I don't want to pay for the TV. So let's work together and let's figure this out.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I like it. Yeah, no, that's great. No, that's really good. Oh man, we could keep going on forever.
All of this is the culmination of just have living
really
life
is.
Experience. Yeah.
No, it is. Yeah, no, perfect. One of the final ones that I really want to touch on, and then we're going to wrap this up. I promise we're going to try to end this this whole segment on here for this show.
Can you tell that I'm passionate about moving and storage, or?
No, you really sound like you want out. Like you're looking for a buyer. Like
exactly.
Go check out New City Moving. He's trying to lowball it. If
you're familiar with Costco, I've always had dreams of being that guy with the clicker. Do you have Costco in Canada?
We do.
I've always had that. I don't know what you guys have in Canada, like Alanis Morissette, Celine Dion, Milk in a Bag, I've heard.
We got Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely man. And Bieber. I don't know who wants to own him Bieber. At this point.
I don't know.
That clicker, that hand clicker that, like, when you see people come in the Costco and you just click it and say like, hey, how's your day? Can I help you find something? I've always found like a romantic notion of being that person, like later on, like as I'm going out to pasture, like, hey, Mark, can I see your membership? Welcome to Costco today. Like TV.
So you're so we know that Brian's not going to be the Walmart greeter, but he's going to be the guy that's clicking and checking that receipt.
Yeah.
You're going to be the guy when people are coming into Costco, not out.
And no, I'm not the guy that uses the marker on your receipt. Like, I'm definitely not that guy. I'm not a narc. I'm just the person. I'm just the friendly face at in the front that just clicks and's like,
I don't see that bag of lemons on your slip. Yeah, you're the guy. Hey, enjoy yourself. Welcome to Costco.
Yeah. You want to go steal shit? That's for the other person. Yeah,
for sure.
I've always thought, or there's like an Ace Hardware at the end of my block, and I was like, man, I wonder how I would do it. Just being like oh, you need AA batteries, Mark? Right this way. These are rechargeable, and the lifetime value of these is great. You know.
Oh, it's hilarious. The epitome of thinking that a moving company with 100 trucks at one location services only residential local moving, to me would be asinine. Like, I would be like, wow, this is pretty remarkable.
I think that piece of cake, and when you think about piece of cake or Dumbo or something like that in New York, I think they certainly have more trucks than us, and they're certainly bigger than us. I guess it's just back to that old adage, right? About like they have a population of 7.5 million. We have 2.7 million. So it's somebody shouldn't listen to this podcast and say, I'm really disappointed that I put up $1 million in revenue this year. Because you could be in fucking nowhere, Oklahoma. And it's like, dude, don't be down on yourself. You're crushing it.
No, I know guys that are in smaller markets and they are absolutely killing it, and they're dominating their small location because of the service, because of the standard, because of what they've set forth, and are doing amazing. Are their numbers 20 million? Probably not, because they can't service that much in that population, but they're also like living a great life, and they're doing really well, and they're able to open up maybe a second location around the block because
there's nothing wrong with that. Somebody shouldn't look at New City or look at Brian and say, look at this guru or something, right? Like, this is just a guy that did it in a big city instead of a small city, and he focused on success, and he created a good life for his family. And that doesn't have to be Chicago or Atlanta or LA or New York. That can be
for sure.
That can be Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right? Like,
yeah, no, I get that, but I guess where I was leading with my last question is that, you know, there's company owners that I've talked to that said, hey, you know, we got into cleaning, we got into junk removal, we had all these different.
You're breaking up a little. You're breaking up a little, Mark.
we wanted to get into like. Okay, perfect. We wanted to get into junk removal. We wanted to get into cleaning. You know, I wanted to get into long distance, and I decided to have like 20 different divisions in my company. Realized, holy shit, I can't handle this. You know, we had a delivery company. We were doing Amazon deliveries, whatever the fuck they were. You know, someone that was trying to whatever they want to spread their wings in. Mm-hmm. And then realized, shit, this is not going to work. I got to restructure, go back to just doing local moving. New city moving, where to run these 100 trucks, everything to manage it. Do you have multiple divisions? Were you looking at it like we were talking before about the CFO saying, okay, well, I got storage, you know, we've expanded. So we have warehouses. We obviously offer storage facilities. You know, we're doing long distance. Are you part of a van line? Are you doing long distance just strictly on your own as an independent? And, you know, are there certain divisions that you said, hey, I'm going to do this and market it to the filming industry, to interior designers? Like, are there certain pockets that you can share with us that you said, hey, this is what New City does because we were able to expand on here, do it really well, and that's how we grew to 100 trucks? Or like, can you elaborate a little bit on what divisions you guys have or not have?
When somebody calls in our company, they're given the option of getting a quote over the phone, filling out an online checklist, which is crappy, getting a virtual or getting an in-home, right? Like we're like, whatever way you want it, Mark, we're going to give it to you. And when we started doing big suburban moves in the summer, we didn't forget about those people. We say it's like McDonald's, right? Like, I want to sell you a Happy Meal, which is like that 2-man crew and you have just a bed and a sofa. Like, I definitely want to get you sticky at that point so that when you get married, I'll get your move, or when you decide to foster children, I'll get your move, or when you have your own children, I'll get your move. And the thought and methodology has always been like, let's get them at the point where they have that 2-man crew and work them up to that 10-man full pack move. That's always been the same methodology throughout the company. So when we bring in new movers, obviously, like when we had 100 movers, I would have put those 100 guys and me at the helm and dispatch. I would have put us up against any moving company in the United States, just like hands down, the cream of the crop, selected from the best moving companies, and everybody knew it was the spot to be. But guess what? Like, when you have 300 guys, it's not the all-star team anymore, dude. It's not even the Raptors. Now you have the whole NBA. And in the NBA, like, there's some Jordans and some LeBrons and some Kobes. But there's also like Brian Scalabrine, the White Mamba, right? Like, there's some players that aren't maybe as good as those Jordan types. So you just look at their skill set, and then you put somebody on a smaller crew that might be newer to the industry or might not have the same skill sets. Because all things being equal, if something breaks and it's a studio and the furniture is from IKEA, it's easier for me to replace than if it was a Steinway piano. So you start to look at those people inside of the organizations and you put them into the buckets that they best fit, so that you're not ostracizing your consumer base. So I still have those small moves available. We still have those mid-level moves, and then we still have those mansion moves, and we're able to do them all with relatively good accuracy because we put the right people in the right roles. And that's how I think the company was able to grow, right? We're not the leading authority for, do we get more referrals than any other mover in the state of Illinois? Yeah, not based on networking, but like if something goes wrong with your move, which it likely won't, here's the owner's number. And then you have situations where it's like, do we specialize in commercial moves? No, but we do them frequently. Do we specialize in moves in the theater industry? No, but we do them frequently. So it's like we've sort of casted a wide net to make sure that regardless of market segment, if you have a really shitty real estate year, guess what? We're still keeping the lights on and we're still making pretty decent money on moving people from apartment to apartment. So we don't ostracize we don't kick out any particular service offerings. In regards to our organizational structure, we try to break down the walls of siloing departments because we know how that works, right? We know that's less than ideal. But from a financial basis and from a management basis, we do the warehouse is sort of standalone, local moves and local packing is standalone, and the long distance move and long distance packing is kind of standalone. So will those people reciprocate crews back and forth if somebody needs some help? Absolutely. But we treat them all like they're different business lines. Because for all intents and purposes, like long distance might be 6 million, local might be 17 million, and storage might make the rest. But we treat them all like they're, at least from a business perspective, we treat them all like they're their own entities.
Do you have specialized guys? Because I've had conversations with guys going, well, okay, we're doing exactly what you're saying. We don't want to turn any business down, but we also then get to a lab that's got to get moved. And like, are you only making, and the Kobe's and the Jordans are off doing that movie star that down the street. So, is that something that you make sure your trainer that you have is training guys and everybody equally to say, this is how you move a grand piano. This is how you're moving this type of equipment. Here's the tools to do this. Let's run through some scenarios so that everybody in the sense of experience, I mean, to me, like the Kobe's and the Jordans, and then like the crapshoot of the guys that you were like, they were like the 50th pick on the draft day. Yeah. You to me, I also then look at personality characteristics. What do they look like? How are they acting? And then try and have experience level as much as the same or similar in the basic knowledges of moving.
Yeah, I would say at the basic knowledge of moving, or what we're doing is like we're training everybody our trainer's doing most of his training in a generalized format application as it pertains to moving. So we still know that like if you've got that $100,000 piano, we're going to send Felipe's crew. Or if we have some modular cubicles, we know that we're sending Benny's crew, right? Like I know all of the people that work for me. Like we all sort of know and have documented a legend who's great at what.
Nice.
But I think that the reason for some of our success is that if people like the way that they work, where they work, and they're bonused accordingly, those people will bring in their friends. And then that industry knowledge, much like from the days of the caveman, right? Like Mark figured out in the cave how to make fire, and he's going to show Brian. A lot of that high-level institutional knowledge is given based on people bringing in people that they enjoy to work with, and then in turn training those people or taking the lead when those situations do come up. So I think it's like a lot of domain knowledge that goes into the company. So like if somebody wants to come into New City Moving and start kicking around boxes to see how much they weigh before they lift them, like that's something that like there's so many good antibodies at New City that it just kicks out cancer right away. Nice. Like nobody has the time to deal with this guy. He's smoking cigarettes in the customer's house. He's cursing with his girlfriend on the phone. Like nobody has time to play that game. Everybody knows that we have a standard that's above the bar. And like a lot of the company's immunodefense comes from the contingency of the movers just saying like, dude, we don't care what you look like, where you're from, what religion you're into, but like when you come here to work. We come here to do a good job. We're looking to provide 5-star service, and we move affluent people, so we're looking to get good tips, right? Like, so I think that like when you have a good contingency of people that bring their own skill sets to the table, but also listen and respect what is acceptable and what is not acceptable behavior in the customer's home, that I think if you create a standard for that long, I mean, we probably should write it on a wall or have one of these cheering statements or something, but it's just like assume that if you go on the job, even though you're not a rock star, like, dude, you got to try your best. I tell people all the time, like, you weren't a rock star day one. There was a lot of experiences that led you to be the rock star that you are. Take a chance on this person. But if this person shows that they don't want to provide the same level of customer service or customer success that you do, it's maybe not a good fit. We want to make sure that we're elite, but at the same time, I don't want any of this like, oh, that's New City Black Division, where it's like, this is our white glove service. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a fan of like that New York thing that's like, we'll use tape on your move that doesn't make a sound when you, this is a real thing, right? Like soundless tape. I swear to God, Google it.
Man. Oh, geez. What a mess.
So that's like part of the success is like, we did what worked. We started it out fractionally. We continued to grow up bigger, but then we didn't cast it away. Like we didn't cast away the bluegill when the bass started on the line. Like we just got another fisherman that sat next to us, and they were the better bluegill fisherman. I was the better bass fisherman. We both just caught fish.
Right.
Now that we've picked up all of our quarters, now we have to get to $50 million by picking up nickels, right? Like we have to pick up quarters plus nickels because 30 cents is better than 25 cents. But it certainly doesn't mean that it's going to be as easier at the same profit margin. So now that you got it to the 1 yard line, like you need to run 8 different run plays in order to just hammer the ball through.
Crazy. I love it. I love all your analogies. I feel like anybody that's listening, if you haven't written any of these down and taken any points, shame on you. Rewind, go listen to it again. Brian, I tell most of the guests that I have on here, I'm heading to Chicago. I'm looking to move. I run into you in an elevator. Give me your pitch. Why am I using New City Moving?
Hey, Mark, that's great that you're looking to move. I would urge you to get 3 quotes and pick, kind of whoever is the best fit for you and your particular needs. I think these other 2 moving companies in Chicago are great. Ultimately, I know that the service that we deliver is top notch. You'd be happy with any one of these 3 movers, I'm sure. I hope that it would be us. We have 0 weak links. If something goes on with your move, kind of like, let me grab your phone for a second and type my number in. If something goes wrong, me and a member of my team would be happy to fix it for you, but 99 chances out of 100 it won't. So we'll treat you fairly. We'll only charge you for the services that you use and the stuff that you use. And we genuinely care about our customers.
I like it. Do you guys leave fingerprints, though, on like glassware?
If you're moving 250 items to Brooklyn in the month of January, yeah, there's a good chance you're going to be able to take your dusting kit and be able to track back who did that.
All right, perfect.
Those kind of things, you just need to eat crow, right? And just be like, you know what? I'm frankly, I'm shocked that this happened. And we are going to sit down and have
so disappointed.
Serious conversation. The mover wouldn't wear booties while it was raining outside and they were lifting your piano down a fire escape. We are going to have a conversation about this when this driver gets back because you, Miss Smith, are very important.
That's right. Oh, Brian, you're great. We definitely have to do this again. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. It was a delight. This is definitely going to be a 2-parter because for anybody that wants to sit there and listen to us talk back and forth for almost 2 hours is Good for you. Congratulations. You've made it through. You listened to the whole podcast. But no, this will definitely be a two-parter. So we'll split it up into two because there was so many great golden nuggets in the beginning. And I mean, explosions for the last half of it. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. For anybody that likes talking shop, hit me up on LinkedIn. And then if this was awful, just message me and tell me like, dude, hang it up. Because I'm seriously getting that job at Costco. Thank you all. Have a great day, Mark.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.